Hello, and welcome to Soul Aligned CEO Podcast, the show that shares the journeys of entrepreneurs from all around the world who have started businesses and they are doing that soul aligned. I'm your host, Jenny Mori, and I'm really excited to have with us today Jen Chieco. She is the CEO of Jen Chieco Coaching, and she empowers young adults and teens in expanding their minds to what is possible through individual and group empowerment coaching. Welcome, Jen.
Thank you so much for having me, Jenny.
So I thought if we could get started by first having you share a little bit about what you're currently offering.
Absolutely. So all year I offer one-on-one coaching. They're 3-month packages, and these are spaces where it's really individualized coaching for teens and young adults to help them unblock limiting beliefs, goal set, and so much more. I am offering a summer program called Off Season. It is a one-on-one coaching and group coaching hybrid. This is 10 weeks for both college students and high school students to dive deep into reflecting, goal setting, and really taking the time to refine their everyday living in a way that's not stressful with the school year. Like, this is for the families and the kids who cannot add another thing to their plate during the school year.
Right. Yeah.
And I know there's so many people out there like that. And then I also am offering group and one-on-one breathwork sessions. These are for adults, and I do also bring this into the one-on-one coaching. And these hour-long, 75-minute breathwork sessions are really tailored specifically, again, to what both adults and younger individuals need to break up any energetic blocks in the body, move energy, and just to decrease stress and increase inner peace. Everybody needs
Wow.
that too.
Yes, everybody needs that too. Awesome. Well, so we'll talk a little bit more later in the episode in more detail about everything that you're offering. That's fantastic. So just a quick summary of the show today. So we're going to talk about Jen's background, how she started as a elementary school teacher and a reading specialist, and how she then realized that she wanted to work with and empower young adults and teens. We're going to talk a little bit about her own journey of how she worked through limiting beliefs and setting goals herself, and then also how sports has influenced her. Then we're going to dive into and talk about the basics of empowerment coaching so that we all can understand what this is and the benefits of it. And then at the end, Jen will share a little bit more about what she is offering, and she has an upcoming workshop. And then she is also going to walk us through a gratitude exercise. So make sure you stay tuned until the very end. I do just want to mention, because of the topics that we are discussing today, that none of this is medical advice. Always speak with your own healthcare provider. All right. So let's start first with your background. So you started your career as an elementary school teacher. What led you to pursue that path?
You know, it's funny looking back because at 16, 17, 18 years old, we ask kids, what do you want to do for the rest of your life?
Right. Yeah, decide right now.
Yeah. And looking back, I remember saying, I'm not like an expert at any one thing. I'm pretty good at a lot of things, but I took some AP courses in high school and honors courses to push myself, which those were definitely, an edge for me. And being around those classmates, I started really comparing myself. And I was like, compared to them, there's some really fantastic writers and some really great mathematicians. And I'm not that, but I'm like good at a lot of other stuff.
Right.
And now learning about human design, I'm a reflector. I wasn't supposed to put myself in one niche. But looking back, I was like, okay, well, I love kids. I'm energetic. I love art. And so I took all the things that I was good at and I was like, well, I could be a teacher. Like my two answer teachers, I think I can work with kids. I think that would really fit my personality. So that's what I went for. I went to school to be an educator.
Yeah. So you got your undergrad in elementary and special ed,
Yep.
and then you said you got your master's in uh, lit-
In in
literacy.
literacy, yeah. So
Yeah.
I could be a reading teacher from birth, as soon as kids, learn how to read all the way up to 12th grade.
Oh, wow.
Mhm.
And then what other certifications have you gone through? You mentioned about the life purpose coaching.
Yeah, so through the Dharma Coaching Institute, which is now called the Highest Self Institute with Sahara Rose, I earned my life purpose coaching certificate. And then with breathwork healer David Elliott, I earned the breathwork healer certificate this
Aw-
fall.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So then let's talk a little bit about your teaching experience. And so as you were teaching, you realized that many kids are dealing with trauma in their lives. What was that like for you? And then how did you realize that there needed to be a better way to help them?
So during my second and third year of teaching, I taught in a city school in upstate New York. I taught fifth grade for 2 years. And that second year was 2019, 2020.
Mm.
So, but that first year, I didn't truly realize how challenging it is to be a young child trying to live an everyday normal life with the level of trauma and burden that are placed upon them to no fault of their own. And then to also be on the receiving end of that, because I felt like it was my responsibility
Mm.
to fix their heartbreak, to mend the belly aches, the
Right. To
hunger.
make it better. Yeah.
Yeah. And I just realized through that experience and what I took on personally, like the secondhand pain, that I was like, wow, education, this world is missing resources. It's missing the extra individuals, which is one of the reasons why I decided to become this role. Yeah, just like lacking those resources.
And so then when you started working as a reading specialist in a high school, how did you realize through that experience that there could be something more? Or I guess, what did you realize that you could do more with them?
Yeah, when I was teaching at the high school, well, I had coached as a track and cross country coach for 3 years prior to that. And well, in my grad school years, and I loved that and I thrived in that. And so when I went back to high school, which I never thought I would honestly teach in a high school setting, I was actually using those same coaching practices with my high school students because
Mhm.
as a reading specialist in a high school, I was not their favorite class. I became a lot of their favorite teacher along the way, but you know, saying you have literacy, which is what my class was called, on your schedule can be embarrassing.
Right.
And a lot of them didn't want to admit that or share that with their friends. And we would spend a lot of time in class going step by step in order for them to even open up their book to read or open up their notebook to take notes. And it was that really unraveling of like, where did all these stories come from? Why are you so hard on yourself? Why are you not speaking kindly to yourself? And I just also used books as a modality to talk about real life topics. And it just
Right.
really was magic.
Right. No, that sounds really incredible. And so you were almost working with them on their limiting beliefs, like to kind of help them realize what was blocking them.
Yeah. And I chose books specifically with themes and characters that mirrored what some of the kids were going through, or as just to shine light on these topics that a lot of times teachers shy away from talking about, or no one in their life is talking to them about it.
Right. Right. Wow. So then let's shift gears a little bit and talk about kind of your own personal experience, kind of growing up, high school, college. How did you yourself kind of work through limiting beliefs and set goals for yourself?
I would say the limiting beliefs started to come into play when I started to compare myself to other people, when it got to high school sports. And I would say that what I went through was pretty average. Like, I think a lot of kids go through this. It's kind of the natural ebb and flow of life, right?
Mm,
Of we start to put ourselves in different pools of things, of activities where we start to compare ourselves. Well, we're around others and then we start to compare ourselves and then we think like, am I good enough for this? You know, and we're not meant to make every single team that we go out for, or, you know, rank top 10 in that race that we so badly
right.
wanted to. We're not all supposed to get gold medals, but it's that process of learning, you know, how to talk to yourself when you don't achieve that goal, or when, you know, you tried your best but your abilities weren't there, and that's okay, because we're not all Kara Gouchers and Mia Hams of the world. You know, we're not the fastest and the best. So it's really just that process, and learning, you know, how to live in a world where we do naturally compare ourselves and we're around other people and everything is relational. And so yeah, that's definitely when those limiting beliefs started popping in.
Yeah. Well, it seems like though you had it kind of innately in you, like a way to kind of work through that process, which is really interesting because then now, you know, you're able to kind of take that kind of reflection and help others. I think that that's really beautiful. So then you mentioned a little bit about sports. And so how did sports impact you growing up?
Yeah, so I do want to just touch on something that you said,
Yeah.
because I've done a lot of work over the last 4 years on myself and really like diving deep into everything. In high school, though, I was a people pleaser. I mean, actually, for a long time. And I
Okay.
really, really wanted to be liked by my teammates. So I actually deeply struggled with those limiting beliefs,
Mm,
because I did set really high goals for myself and had high expectations. And, you know, some of them I fell short of naturally. And so, yeah, that definitely, like, I did struggle. However, as a coach, like when I coached those runners years later, I had you know, that 2020 vision. And
right.
so I was glad that I mean, I wouldn't change anything about my journey, right? Because now I have the 2020 vision and the skills to have conversations with others and help them.
Right. And the empathy, and you can relate to what
Mm-hmm.
that feels like. I
Right.
think that that's really great. Yeah, I mean, I think competition sports, I mean, it's natural, you know, and like you said, you're putting yourself in activities with peers and, you know, you're seeing, you know, very clearly like where you don't, you know, you fall short, you know, and it is very overwhelming, I think, for kids. And especially now with social media, you know,
Absolutely.
having everything kind of out there for everyone. And so then, you know, if you look at your background and you kind of look at everything that you experienced, and then you kind of had that realization, you know, through your teaching that there was something more, you know, that could be offered to these students. And so then, how did you decide then to kind of go down this path of empowerment coaching?
I think it really goes back to what I coach my clients with, my teens and young adults, is listening to yourself.
Mm,
Is I always have known deep down that being a public school teacher wouldn't be my forever. And so I just kept myself open to other experiences and other opportunities. And so once I started learning about life coaching, signing up to have my own mentors, putting myself in different containers, I realized how powerful and just how beautifully my life was shifting. And I was like, wow, if I can be that for that younger version of myself that was
right.
being so self-critical and comparing herself, and even getting down on herself because she didn't run as fast as she wanted to but still ran a personal record. Like, I want to be that. I want to be that inspiration at that age. And just so that kids aren't carrying, young people aren't carrying these limiting beliefs, and what's like really bogging them down any longer
Right.
than they need to.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's really powerful. So then let's talk about empowerment coaching. And so if, you know, people listening, they maybe don't understand what exactly it is, what does empowerment coaching mean to you?
Well, as humans, we all have our strengths and we all have our challenges. And I think there's a lot to be said when we acknowledge what we are really good at
Yeah.
and dive deeper into that. And then also take a look at our imperfections and our humanness and acknowledge those as well. And don't look at them like they're downfalls, but they are perfectly imperfectly like part of who we are in this journey. And being courageous enough to set goals in the face of our fears and being courageous enough to put ourselves out there knowing that we're going to stumble over our words and be silly and make mistakes, but it's all worth it to really like be that fullest expression of ourselves.
I love that. Being courageous enough to set goals in spite of your fears. Like that's very empowering. Um, so if you could pick kind of, let's maybe talk about two areas that you would kind of first focus on with someone in empowerment coaching. Like, what would those two areas be?
Well, I think a lot of young people can really benefit from goal setting.
Mm,
And I think then when you start to goal set, you also start to see those limiting beliefs.
mm.
So I think those go hand in hand, limiting beliefs and
Okay.
goal setting.
Okay. So then, how do you approach goal setting with teens then?
I think it's so fun because I remember health class in like 11th grade or something. Our teacher was like, these are SMART goals. And as much as it's important to have actually attainable goals that are
Right.
specific and measurable and all of that, the process in which you achieve goals can be so fun because you become what you want to achieve. You become the character of that person that wants to achieve that thing. And so it ends up becoming like part of who you are instead of like this thing that's outside of you.
Got it. I like that. Yeah. So that does make it more fun. And it's almost like you are establishing something that's a part of you. I really like that. And so then, as you said, so you start setting these goals and you start getting excited about them. And so then those limiting beliefs start to creep in. Right. And
Sure
so then
do.
how do you work with people to kind of acknowledge those and kind of go through that process so that they don't stop you?
Yeah. So I think when we look at limiting beliefs, a lot of the times they're really projections of what other people have said to us.
Mm.
So, didn't happen to me, but I remember my mentor sharing this. Like, if you could be a 5 year old in kindergarten painting away, having the best time, and then your teacher, says that you're making a mess, and you
Oh,
just remember that subconsciously, right? And then you start to not express yourself in that way anymore, or become quieter, or think, oh, I'm bad, or different stories, right? And we don't mean to do that, but subconsciously we tend to do that. And so I take kids through, okay, when did you start believing this? Did this come from you? Do you feel like someone else said something to you? And then really getting into like, what's the truth? Like, is there truth in that? And then proving yourself wrong. Like, where's the evidence? If we can't find evidence, it's actually not true.
right. Something you said kind of sparked something. So you said it's like a story, that you created, and so depending on what the facts were of the situation, you then made up a story about it, and then you kind of just replay. It's kind of just on autoplay, in your
Yeah.
mind.
Right.
Yeah.
When we don't take time to slow down and acknowledge the stories, then we're just on autopilot and we just think they're true. And so we just are, playing that same CD, playing that same DVD. I mean, people don't watch that anymore, but I'm not
Right.
I'm not
I
old,
did.
so
I did. I was like, oh, you're talking to me.
but you know what I'm saying? Like you
Right.
just press play and you're kind of like just going. But when there's just really so much power in pausing and then taking time to get honest with yourself and then refine and
Right.
and then you just feel lighter and it's just yeah. I mean, we've
That's
both done this kind of work and like you can see it in my face.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just
No,
liberating,
you,
really.
it is. It's freeing. And it's interesting because I guess I hadn't thought about before, kind of the correlation between goal setting and then limiting beliefs, because it's like kind of human nature to keep pushing yourself and, wanting to try something new and kind of expand and learn more. But then at that same time, it's almost like this push pull thing that's happening because it's like you're wanting to do more, but then there's something inside of you that's like, wait, are you good enough? And I think everyone, not just young adults and teens, but I mean, everyone is kind of dealing with that. And so, you know, you work through the limiting beliefs. You mentioned that you kind of talk through it with them and help them to recognize that the story, isn't real. And
Hmm.
then, that then empowers them to kind of focus on their goals then, I would assume.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. And I think once we like unpack those things and they don't feel as powerful because they're not just stories in the head anymore, right? You've spoken them out
Mhm.
loud, you've processed them, then it's like, okay, well, it is what it is. It no longer has the power over me that it used to, and I can move on.
That's key. You choose what you want to do.
Yep.
Yeah. So then what is it like to work with you? And so if there's a mom out there that, has a teen that, she feels would benefit from this type of coaching, like what could they expect to experience working with you?
Well, the first step I always take is I offer free discovery calls. So hop on a call with me for 30 minutes. I want to get to know you. I want you to get to know me. And really, the basis of my coaching is all about relationships. Yes, I'm here to, depending on the child, the young adult, um, my goal, right? If their goal is to like be able to set goals and like achieve one specific goal, great. But I'm also here to like meet you where you're at and meet your soul and to really see the whole person. So just really building that relationship together. And then I am that reflection, that sounding board for the young people out there to get to know themselves better. So every single container, every group of 3 months that I work with people looks different because I intuitively like just lean in, just like with teaching, you know. Um I just kind of like trust myself and then I use my own resources and like take what I need for who needs it and then leave the rest.
Right. That's really great though that you can call on both your kind of mainstream teaching experience and then also all of the other things that you've done to really kind of embody this type of life coaching. That's really beautiful, Jen. So let's talk a little bit more about the types of coaching that you offer. So you mentioned that you do these 3-month containers just now. And then you also said something about a summer off season program. Tell me a little bit more
Mm-hmm.
about that.
Yeah. So the one-on-one containers are 3 months, any time of the year that families, like parents are noticing, like, hey, my teen or young adult needs like a little pick me up. Like maybe there's a specific goal they're setting for a class that they're in, or it's a student athlete and, they're in a winter sport and they are really struggling with like comparisonitis or perfectionism or whatever it is. Like they just, need those 3 months, in and out. This is the time of year that we need that. Then those are tailored experiences that are unique to those kids. Um,
Okay.
and then we have the 10-week off season offer that is one-on-one. So you have 10 coaching calls, one coaching call a week with me. And it's really going to start with reflecting on the previous school year and then diving into, okay, what do you want your life to look like, goals to, be met or set in 10 weeks from now. And we reverse engineer that, where we go into habit building and lifestyle choices and personal values and purpose and the why behind what we do. Nowadays, I feel like, I was in high school, the whole like get good grades so you can, graduate and go to college isn't cutting it anymore. And so we really have to dive deeper into like, why are we showing up every single day and not taking any days that we're living for granted?
Right.
Because there's so much that we can take away from every single day. So those 10 weeks, I'm going to have all of those one-on-one college and high schoolers also have group calls so they can hear each other, share. And I think there's a lot of power in being able to share challenges, share strengths, and then also seeing like, hey, I'm not alone. And other people
Right.
are in this too. And not just hearing it from someone like me, but hearing it from someone who is the same age or around the same age as them.
Right. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's very powerful. So this is actually the perfect time then to be talking to you. So it's mid-April now. And so when do you start this off-season program?
So off season will start. I'm going to be rolling out enrollment for that in the beginning of June. Yeah, the beginning
Okay.
of June. Mm-hmm.
Okay, great.
So everyone can keep their eye out for that. And by the time this episode is released, I'm also offering a free 60-minute workshop. It is called Empower Hour.
Oh, nice.
And this is just essentially a continuation off of what we've been talking about today around limiting beliefs and goal setting. So I'm going to get much more specific with strategies to overcome limiting beliefs, prompts, like ways to guide teens and young adults through that. And then some of my favorite tips and tricks about goal setting and habit building. So that's absolutely free. 60 minutes is going to be on May 15th at 7 p.m. Eastern
Okay,
Standard Time.
awesome. That's really great. So then if people are kind of curious, what it's like to work with you and want to just kind of experience it, attending this free workshop would be perfect then,
Yeah,
right? And
absolutely.
so what was the date again?
May 15th, Wednesday, May
May
15th.
15th. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. And we'll talk about at the end how to get in contact with you and how to get on your email list. But I think that that's great because I think that sometimes, you want to just kind of explore a little bit before you maybe sign up for a larger package. And so a workshop like that is perfect. They can kind of get a feel for the type of work that you do.
Yeah,
That's really
absolutely.
great. So I thought now we could go ahead and do that gratitude exercise if that works.
Awesome. Yeah.
Okay.
So I wanted to bring a little bit of gratitude into this today because it's something that I bring into my one on one coaching. I think life can be so fast and we're all so busy, and it's just, it's empowering to bring in gratitude because then we're focusing on the positive and then we see more positive. And so I just want to take everyone through just a second to scan their body, to feel their feet on the floor, on the ground. Maybe you're on a walk. Just feel yourself grounded. Maybe you feel the pavement under your feet, or maybe you're driving and you feel the gas pedal under your foot. And I just want you to take a deep breath in, take a deep breath into your belly, and expand your belly, and exhale through your mouth. And I want you to say 3 things that you're grateful for out loud.
Me?
I mean, if you want to, you totally can.
Sure.
Okay.
I am really grateful for my health and the health of my immediate family. I'm really grateful for just life and having the opportunity, like you said, to be here every day and hopefully make an impact. And I'm really grateful for people that believe in me and that believe and support each other. So thank you.
Yeah, I'm with that. And I know my parents are going to listen to this. So I just want to give my never ending gratitude to them for always believing in me and being my rock, and my brother, obviously. But
Yeah.
yeah, definitely want to give a shout out to my mom and dad. Um, but yeah, so I really wanted to kind of end with this gratitude piece and just this mindfulness and connecting back to the body, because if parents and families can bring gratitude into their daily practice of like writing it on a whiteboard in the kitchen every morning and every night. And so it's just that kind of like check in and check out every single day. When the adults in the household model, what gratitude looks like and what positive self talk looks like and all these pieces, the kids take that on, right? They're sponges. And
Yeah,
so, yeah, just a little tidbit if you want to add that in.
that's
A
perfect.
Yeah, like a family gratitude.
I love that. That's perfect. And I think, whether it's in the morning or in the evening, just bringing that simple exercise, and I like how you bring it back into the body too, because I think a lot of times, especially when we're busy and kind of running around and kind of go 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 world that we live in, it's easy to not only lose sight of gratitude but like lose sight of your body. And so like bringing those together with your breath, that was really powerful. Thank you for sharing that. I want to kind of talk a little bit about like your experience as an entrepreneur. And so, there's a lot of entrepreneurs that listen to the podcast. This is this show that's sharing the stories of entrepreneurs. And so, how has it been for you to really be doing work that you are aligned with?
I loved teaching and I love guiding, and that's what I love to do. And so just doing it in a way that I get to create and I get to allow myself to be the conduit for these ideas versus somebody else is has been so much fun. I am so new in this game and I've learned so much along the way and I have so much more to learn. Um, but yeah, it feels empowering for me.
That's awesome. What tips would you have for maybe there's other school teachers out there, or whatever profession that someone is in, and they feel like they want to do something different? Like, what is it like to kind of break out and to be an entrepreneur? Do you have any tips on like getting started or how to believe in yourself?
I would just say to be a sponge for as much information out there that you can take in and process and learn from a variety of people. Get yourself in containers of people who are doing what you want to be doing and inspire you, and just surround yourself with the positivity because is a lot of negativity in the teaching world. And I think a lot of teachers are burnout and tired. And I know I was only there, in the profession for 6 years. So I would say like you have to be deliberate about what you take in.
That's great advice. And surrounding yourself with people that are in that space and are doing it. I think having community is so important. So thank you for sharing that. So then what's the best way for people to kind of get in contact with you?
You can follow me on Instagram at Jen Chieco, Chieco. And my website is jenchico.com. And then my email is connect@jenchico.com. I will also have a link in your show notes, and that brings everyone straight to my email list. So that's where they'll get information about the free workshop and the link to my discovery call scheduler and literally everything that they need to know.
That's awesome. So, yes, everyone definitely check out the link in the show notes so that you can get information on the free workshop, because you're going to talk about like limiting beliefs and goal setting a little bit more, like we have today in that
Yep.
workshop.
Mm-hmm.
And so, who would you kind of suggest come to that workshop? The parents, the teens? Like, who would be?
Yeah, parents, I would say. I know sometimes when parents are like, hey, I found this person, like, I'm going to hop on this thing, my 17-year-old, you want to join me? They're going to be like, no. So, feel free to invite your teen or young adult, send them the link for them to sit on with their video off and just, they can be, a listener and just listen in. You can join parents and their children together. Yeah. And then if any young people just kind of like find this on their own, they can join as well, solo.
Awesome. Yeah. No, I think it's really important, and everything that you're offering and really guiding young adults and teens through, it's so important. And, I think anyone that is involved in any of your programs would be just so blessed to have the opportunity to work with you. Your passion for this just shines through. I mean, from the moment I met you, if I had a young adult or teen child, I would, in a heartbeat, connect them with you, because I think the work that you're doing really is beautiful, and it is really important, and it matters. And so I really, really appreciate you taking the time to share with us, what is empowerment coaching? How can this benefit people? Because it makes such a difference. And the last thing that I wanted to ask you is, what are some of the things that you see when people kind of go through this process? What types of, I don't want to say results, but what kinds of changes do you see when you've worked with, kids?
I mean, we see improved grades, we see improved confidence. When you even look at something like saying, oh, we're going to work on organization, like that's not a glamorous thing to, sell, right?
Right, right.
But when you are a more organized person, your brain doesn't feel as cluttered and you have more mental clarity and you're not wasting energy on things that don't need it. So you're actually setting bigger goals for yourself and you're feeling more courageous because you've taken out the things that no longer serve you. Um, I really just have seen that they just glow. They just glow and they feel more confident, and it's really beautiful.
And that matters.
Mm-hmm.
That's really important. So make sure, everyone, you follow Jen on Instagram at Jen Chieco, and then check the link in the show notes to sign up for her workshop on what day is
15th.
it? May 15th, 7 p.m. And I think that will be really helpful to kind of get even more of a feel for the type of work that you do. And so I really, really appreciate you taking the time to talk through all of this today. And thank you so much for sharing that beautiful exercise. I think that's something that, people will really take away from this. So I really appreciate it.
Of course. And I know people already know what gratitude is, but sometimes all it takes is a little reminder of like, oh,
Yeah.
wow, that served me so much. Not complicated, just bringing it back in.
Yeah. No, that's perfect. So, well, thank you for being here, Jen. I look forward to your workshop.
Thank you, Jenny. Thank you so much for having me.
And thank you, everyone, for listening. I hope that you have found this episode informative and insightful. And until next time, I wish you much peace, love, and joy as you pursue being soul aligned.